Hey everyone, I hope you've had a great day so far and that you're doing well. For this video we're continuing through our unboxing of the Blokees Transformers line, well particularly the Classic Class line, with Classic Class 21 Jetwing Optimus Prime, and this version of Optimus is from Transformers Dark of the Moon. Very interesting movie, still pretty good back in the day, still good even now, but it had some interesting moments. As I mentioned, this is from Blokees and the 21st Classic Class release for Transformers. Getting straight into it because Optimus has a lot of plastic. So, front of the box, changing some of the artwork style now. So we still have the actual product here, but instead of that lithographic background, it's gone to a bit more of a loose scenic background. So I suspect this is pretty much an image of Optimus as if he was pretty much flying over Chicago. Was it the Battle of Chicago from the movie? Very much sporting his Jetwing mode. He does look very, very cool. Remains to be seen how much of this version of Optimus is a bit of a copy from the previous Optimus release, which was his 2007 version. I suspect there'll be some parallels and there'll probably be some differences. Bottom of the box, Classic Class. Jetwing Optimus Prime, 163 pieces. Side of the box, very stoic image here of Optimus without the Jetwing attachment, so pretty much you'll see remnants, well not remnants, but he'll be holding a shield here, so there will be some interchangeability. I just don't know how interchangeable things will be. Other side of the box, front of Optimus with the Jetwing there, back of Optimus with the Jetwing attached, and here's many accessories. So ranged weapons, different hands, axe, blade, shield, etc. So he's very much decked out. Back of the box we have Jetwing Optimus Prime here and a little bit of the bio there. And then the bottom shot of Optimus on the base with a stand, so that's something new and different, with a quick look at some of the included runners, and as I said, there is a bit. I mean, just gauging by the thickness of the box, there was a bit of plastic in here. Anyway, that is the pretty artwork of the box done. Time to actually have a look at everything that was inside this box. Okay, getting straight into it. Front of the manual with that same image that we saw from the front of the box. The back, just the final few steps of finishing the assembly of Optimus, pretty much attaching him to his stand, although it looks like he can be both aerial and on foot thanks to some attachment points. Inside the manual we actually don't have any artwork for a change, which is unfortunate, but you'll see in a minute as to why. His character profile is still there. We do still have the run through of all the various runners and bits, and there's definitely a decent chunk there. In terms of the instructions, so going through this part of it, in terms of build, there's nothing new and unusual. I think the only thing different will be the replacement and the optional components of Optimus. Now, looking at his arms, they should be relatively straightforward, and some of the replacement components don't seem too difficult to do. So that's his head and two arms. We move over to this side. Obviously there's the completed Optimus put together, at least his main body. Main body, crotch, two legs and weapons. Now his body has a decent section where it says replace, replace, replace. So I'm not too sure how significant some of these replacement parts go. I suspect some of them are probably created to be very much in line with he is going to be his Jetwing as opposed to his standard. In saying that, assuming this is still loosely based off the previous Optimus release, which don't ask me which Classic Class number he was, I do not remember, some of those accessories like his shield and weapons might even be better to be used on him than this particular version of Optimus. Worst case scenario, get another Jetwing Optimus. He would just be stuck with two jets. Anyway, the last of the instructions pretty much go through the construction of the actual Jetwing module. So it's definitely not too difficult, and there's definitely some nice color separation there, but yeah, definitely the first Blokees of this particular classic class that has been a lot more, I don't want to say convoluted, it's not convoluted, but it definitely has a increased number of steps involved for assembly. Anyway, that was the manual, which we will come back to at some point in time. We do get the usual little pamphlet regarding battery replacement. To this day, I've not really used one, and who knows? Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Now, going into the amount of plastic. So we have the usual plastic bag here with these loose components that as is. So there's a number of these effect weapon parts, the Energon axe, Energon blades, and a number of pre-painted components here. Some of which will be the thrusters on the jet wing. Obviously his light unit here, and some of these other light pipings throughout. So that is that. In terms of everything else now, the previous unboxing, which was Megatronus, saw the first iteration of these new bases. So Jetwing Optimus is no surprise here having this particular new base, which, I mean, it still looks very cool. You can definitely see it's meant to be modular. I'm sure this is probably a standardized base across many things, Ava being a good example. And obviously it's just, once again, that modular components. We do have this extra, I don't know if it's supposed to be an I or an H runner, probably should have checked the manual. Either way, these are components for the stand for the base, and I suspect these items here are probably the little plug points if he was to actually stand on the base, I think. Anyway, as for the rest of the runners, now this is where things probably get convoluted. There are multiple A's, starting with A1 in a very solid dark blue here. Not metallics, just very much a solid blue through and through. So that was A1. We have two other A's, A's 2 and 3, going into a bit of a dark silver. So A3 is very much the wing components, A2 weapons, bit of wing components, and the shield. So definitely very cool. The weapon detailing does look very nice. It's definitely not heavily detailed, but the detailing is definitely there. So we've got those two A runners. I have no idea how this is going to work well. Just shoving things to the side. As for B's, we've got 4 in total. Starting with the B's 1 and 2, both are in dark blue. Both also have some additional pre-painted components. So B1 has the red flame effects on various panels, and then B2 here has the silver trimmings added, as these will be the sides of his head. B3 and B4 go back into that nice silver, so B3 is on the top, B4 is underneath. So main body, weapons, things like that. Once again, the detailing on these things are very nice. So that's B3, and this one is B4. So those were the A's and the B's. Moving into the C's, I think there's 5 C's in total. C1 in red. So these parts are all going to be just a dark solid color, where some of the previous releases, especially out of I don't want to say Transformers 1, although Transformers 1 did have a little bit. Rise of the Beast? No, maybe it was Transformers 1. Anyway, there was a lot of metallic stuff in the past. Jetwing Optimus, not so much. C2, C3. C2 is back to still being red with some pre-paint here for the flame effects. And then C3, I feel is probably some type of bronze. C4 and 5 back into the dark blue, so C4, and then C5 now. This is pretty much all new to me, so I don't know why C5 seems to be a repeat of Optimus's side components on his head, given that we just saw them at the early Cs. Anyway, just going through the runners. So those were the Cs. Ds have a few, I think there's 4 in total. D1 is back into a metallic silver, probably of a darker colour. I feel this is another version of Prime's chest, so one is probably the original from the very first release of Prime. The other one is probably something a bit more specific to him in his Jetwing version. D2, still in that dark silver with some pre-painted blue on. I do remember this from the previous Optimus build. In fact, there's Optimus's front of his face. D3 and 4, back into the reds. So solid red, although D4 has some pre-painted there for the flame effects and detailing. Now I will admit the pre-paint on these are very nice, like all the flame effects on Prime, really good. So those were the Ds. Wrapping up the runners, we have an E1 back in metallic silver. Now some of these pieces do look a bit familiar from the last time I built Optimus. I literally have this stack of runners off camera and I'm worried if they're going to fall down. F1 just in a lighter silver. And then lastly we have a G1 in a bit of a dark grey border graphite. And that is pretty much all the runners for Jetwing Optimus Prime. So looking at the length of the video, it's been a bit longer than I was expecting, because he did have a good number of runners to actually race through. Definitely looking forward to putting Jetwing Optimus Prime together, because I am curious to see what, if I can spot some of the visual differences between this version of Optimus and the previous version of Optimus that I've built, which I will admit was still a very fun build. Surprised they've not made a Nemesis version, but let's not put that out to the universe. But yeah, going to leave it there because this has been a bit longer than usual. Thank you very much for watching this unboxing of Classic Class 21 Jetwing Optimus Prime. Feel free to do the usual like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. This does support the channel and I do appreciate it. Feel free to check out my Instagram and the community tab, trying to put some bits and pieces up there. Basically the work in progress shots of what I'm working on, or if there's been something that I've picked up that caught my fancy. With that being said, stay safe and take care, and I will catch you all in next week's video, which could still be Optimus themed. Wink wink, nudge nudge. Time will tell. Yeah, guess you have to find out next week. See ya.